there viewers, Eric O here. Welcome back to our channel, and if you're new here, welcome to our channel. Today we've got a 2007 Chevy Silverado. It's got the 5.3. It's the classic body style, and the check engine light is on. So gonna grab our Verus, get it plugged in here, do a code scan on it, and the guy also said that occasionally the ABS light comes on, so he wanted that looked at also. So we'll see if there's any history codes in there and see if we can't get this fixed up. We got the Verus hooked up to it. I've already put in the year, make, model and all that stuff, so we're going to do just a full code scan on it here and see if we have codes in the engine and ABS there. I see the engine light is on, the ABS light is not on currently, so we'll see what this comes up with. Alright, so we do have ABS, engine, transmission, radio codes, all kinds of stuff. So engine codes, we've got looks like a heater circuit problem with an oxygen sensor there. Not too uncommon, I guess. And ABS there, we got an ABS relay circuit open and a pump motor circuit fault. So that's not good. After looking at the codes, I guess my assessment would be, you know, I've worked on enough of these Chevy trucks to know that the problem with the ABS, that internal relay fault, that's exactly what it is. There's on the, what they call the EBCM, which is the electric part of the ABS valve down on the frame on these. They have an internal relay that tends to kind of goof up on these once in a while, and in some cases breaks permanently. So good chance that's starting to fail. You know, the light's not on now, so I'll see what the customer wants to do. You know, because realistically, without it being broke, it would just be a big fat guess. And you know, buying one of those new, they're pretty expensive. So typically what we'll do is we'll get good used Southern units and just rob the EBCM off the, what do they call it, the HCU, the hydraulic control unit, whatever. So that's a different story. So anyhow, with the O2 sensor code there, it looks like it's just a heater circuit. So we're going to take and test out the heater in that rear O2 sensor, and if it's broke, just go ahead and change it. So it looks like a pretty easy fix for this guy. Gonna have to wait a few minutes here. I checked to see, just for the heck of it, if anybody had an O2 sensor in stock, and they don't. So won't have one until this afternoon, so I'm just gonna pull it back outside for the time being, and it'll be a few hours for me, but only a few seconds for you, and then we'll be back and do some testing, so stick around. I'm back. I know it's only been a few seconds, but it's getting to be late in the day here, and brought this Chevy back in, put it up on the lift. We're going to go ahead and test out the O2 sensor and see if that heater circuit is just open circuited in the bank 1 sensor 2 oxygen sensor, and if it is, we'll just go ahead and replace it. I did get this new one here, so just in case, but if that's not the problem, then we will figure out what the problem is and chase it backwards, but we're going to start with the most obvious thing first. Underneath the truck here, I gotta believe it's this one here. So this is the downstream, this is on the driver's side. So it should be bank 1, because on a Chevy, that's where the #1 cylinder is. So follow these wires back, and it connects together up here above the cross member. So I'll get that connector pop loose there, and we'll do some testing. It's got these little slide locks in there, the little green locks and blue locks that GM likes to use. Oh, I was just gonna complain about it, but that one just come right undone. Sometimes those things can be a real pisser. Not as bad as a Dodge, but. And I don't think we have to do any more testing, because the problem is right here. Grab the camera. So on an oxygen sensor, you may or may not know this, but when you're looking at the connector, you've got on this one's a heat and oxygen sensor. So your wires, the two wires that are the same color, in this case they're black, those run the heater circuit. And what I was going to do, or what I was going to attempt to do, is just we're going to check the resistance of that. It'd probably be, you know, 5 or 6 ohms. But as you see, as I just unplugged this, I think the problem's pretty obvious. So there's one of the black wires that runs the O2 heater, and you can see clearly that it is damaged. So realistically, if I just take that, just pop it right in half, there was really nothing there except the insulation. So something at some point in its life has gone up there and poked that and damaged it. So even though this O2 sensor could have a good heater in it, for the price of an O2 sensor, we're not going to go ahead and try to, you know, butt connect to that, or, you know, rig that up at all. There's not much of a pigtail sticking out there. So probably the smartest thing to do in this situation is to replace it. Sometimes our testing is cut short. Well, pretty much by, you know, an obvious fault. You know, it doesn't really require any electrical testing. One thing I would say, you know, I did look up there and I couldn't see, you know, what cut this wire, you know, what hit it. It wasn't out of its, you know, factory placement. So, you know, something come up and whacked it. The black wires are actually facing up. They're not on the cross member. But one thing that would concern me a little bit is, you know, did this thing short and blow the fuse? Well, I highly doubt it, because I'm sure that fuse for this O2 sensor is probably shared with other O2 sensor heaters. But I've got the scan tool hooked up. We can take and grab our scope on a rope and test that O2 heater circuit pretty quick while we're right here. I mean, it would only make sense. I'll use the scan tool. I will toggle on the heater. So essentially we should just have a 12 volt power and a ground here at the O2 sensor connector, and then we'll back probe it there and make sure that lights up, and if it does, we'll just swap this out and move on. All right, so I'll get the test light up here. If I can finagle this. Get the ground side in there. See if I can reach in there and just touch this enough to, yep, and we can see that we do have 12 volts going to the plug. So it didn't blow a fuse when it, you know, when this wire here got cut or chafed through or whatever it was that caused that problem. Didn't contact the frame, it wasn't conductive, didn't blow a fuse, so that's good. So it's a good thing we got this O2 sensor. Got our new one here all slobbered up and never sees. See if I can't get that started. All right, get her snugged up. Should be good enough. Get plugged in, snap our lock back in it. Because it's aftermarket, it come with 6.5 miles of wire, and the front drive shaft is right here. I don't want to take a chance of getting it over there, so I'm going to take and just put a little loop in it, and I'm going to throw a little zip tie around it. Just kind of take up the slack a little bit here. Make sure you do have a little bit of slack in there to allow for engine movement. These big Chevrolets got so much horsepower. You know, they got a little bit of torque room there, so there's enough room with that, and I'll take and trim that off. Beautiful. Being that we're right under here, this is what I was talking about earlier. This is the ABS unit underneath this truck, and you can see things are starting to get kind of rotted under here, but that's besides the point. This is where these electrical connectors go in. This is the EBCM, the electronic brake control unit, and that is actually bolted to the HCU, the hydraulic control unit. So there's kind of two parts of the ABS system there. You got essentially the computer, and then you got the hydraulic part that has the isolation valves and the pump and all that stuff in there. So what happens is the relay inside that EBCM actually goes bad. So because you can see we've actually got two big wires here that feed it, the big battery feed. You know, it goes into it. There's an internal relay. From the internal relay, it powers out to the motor. So, you know, that goes bad, and unfortunately, you know, trashes the whole unit. So it's not uncommon in these Chevys. You see a bazillion of these things come in with the ABS light on, either from this problem, you know, the relay shorted out and stuck the pump motor on, or, you know, you've got a wheel speed sensor that crapped out and people get sick of putting wheel bearings in them, so they just pull the fuse. So anyhow, I think this has been an ongoing problem with this truck, the occasional ABS light, and I'll leave the decision up to the customer at this point. Pretty short video, but well, it is what it is. You know, can't make them broke any more than they already are. So I guess we'll just wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Hope this maybe helps you along. I probably should have showed you on the new O2 sensor how I was going to test the old one. You know what? I've got the old one right here. I can still show you. Let me get my meter. Being that I got my meter right here, I'm just going to take the old O2 sensor that had the wire broke off. I just took and cut the other one, so we're basically just going to go into 2 black wires in the actual heater circuit here. And we're going to check it for resistance. It should be pretty low. I'm going to guess, 4 to 6 ohms, 4 to 8 ohms, somewhere's in there. So just set your meter up. And, obviously you wouldn't go, whacking the connector off it to do this. So I'll just hold one on there and touch the other one. Pretty good guess. So we're at 4.9 ohms. So theoretically, this O2 sensor was good, except for the fact that, that it had rubbed through there, or whatever happened there, rubbed through, got pinched or something. But it's pretty green and crusty, so it's probably been like that for a little while. And, I think we made the right repair. But if you had these codes and there was no physical damage, that's what you do. Just come under, back probe your 2 black wires, and see if you have continuity. Most of the time when you have an O2 heater code, you have no continuity. It'll just be, OL or OLF or whatever your meter says for open circuit. So that's it. Now it's a wrap. That's how you test your O2 heater. You can probably find a lot of, probably a million videos on YouTube on how to do that. So that's kind of an interesting problem. Be kind of curious to know if anybody else that has one of these trucks and had these codes has had this problem. It's a pretty well protected connector, really, being on top of that cross member, but we do get a lot of ice and slop and crap around here, so you never know what could come down and hit these wires. And so anyhow, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to wrap it up and sign off here. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If not, give us a thumbs down. Check us out and like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our channel if you want to stay up to date with the latest videos. So remember, if I can do it, you can do it. So thanks for watching.